Hi there. My name's Kevin Norris. I am a writer and I sometimes do graphic design, but mostly right now I'm trying to be a writer. And I just finished my novel. It's called Chaos Agent: The Plus One Counteroffer. And so what I'm going to be doing right now is I'm going to be reading a section from here, from the book, uh, so that it's just not going to be at the beginning because the beginning you'll see the beginning. I'll send you the beginning. It's not that's cool, but um, this is actually much later on in the thing, and I'm not going to even give it any background because I think this is from chapter 8 called The Squared Circle, and here we go. This is chapter 8, The Squared Circle, in which we finally reach an understanding on many subjects. He who was living is now dead. He who were living are now dying with a little patience. T.S. Eliot. Subchapter 1. You are a lot heavier than you look. I open my eyes, feel the cold floor on my back and the pain all through my body, and realize almost immediately that I'm not red paste between two giant gears, but still alive and somehow safely on solid ground. Or at least solid metal, the grating that makes up the walkways from the feel of it. I sit up. Holy! I lay back down quickly as my head pulses and throbs in pain. After a few seconds of heavy breathing to bring the world back in order, I say, "How did you manage that?" I turn my head and see her. Her hair is a mess. She has scratches and bruises all up her forearms, and there is a big gash on her hairline, but she's alive. "I don't know," she says ruefully. "I just didn't let go." "Christ, no, you didn't." I stretch painfully and manage to sit up, slower this time. "You dropped your knife," she says. "Oh, yeah, well, I figured. Easy come, easy go." "No, I mean over there," she says. "You wouldn't let go of it even when you were unconscious. It was like glued in your hand until I got you over the railing, and then you dropped it over there." She points. "Yeah, there it is. Oh, well, I think. Priorities." Where am I? I look around. We appear to be at some kind of hub. Cables stretch out in all directions, and I can see by the curve of the wall to either side of me that this isn't the other side of the prison, but a juncture leading away in all directions. I can see figures on zip lines moving toward and away in the distance, although nobody seems to be anywhere near us at the moment, which is good because I need to get my wits about me before we do anything else. My head is killing me. "Keith is not okay," Diana says. I notice now that she is kneeling over the still form of the bird. That Russian asshole slammed him pretty hard into the wall, and I don't think that what we just went through with him tucked in my shirt did him any good. I crawl over closely. I can see the little guy on his back, feet in the air, head back into the side, beak open, tongue out. No, he does not look good. "You shouldn't have gone back for him. That was a really stupid move. I'm pretty sure he's dead, Diana." "No," she says, and I can hear the pain in her voice. "No, I saw him breathing just a second ago. He's fine. He's going to be okay. I just need to get him wrapped up so he can rest and not hurt himself worse." I reach out and nudge his foot. Nothing. "No, I'm sorry," I say. "He's gone." "Are you sorry?" She turns on me angrily. "What? Are you? Are you fucking sorry he's dead? Are you?" "Well, when you put it like that," I say, a little dumbfounded. "No, not really. He was a pain in the ass, and it's not like he helped with anything. He was my friend." Now she's really mad, and she picks up the corpse. It really is a corpse now. Nothing's gonna change that, at least nothing that I could get a hold of here. "Yeah, fine, but now he's nothing. He's not even good to eat." "Fuck you," she screams. I do not understand what has gotten into her. "I know you care about him. I know you do. You can't be this much of a monster." With an exasperated sigh, I reach out, take Keith, or what was once Keith, in my hand and toss him over my shoulder off the walkway. Her eyes go wide. "No!" she screams and runs at me, buries herself in me. After a few minutes, the crying subsides and she steps back. "You care. I know you care," she says. "I don't. I promise you," I say. "How can you say that after everything we've been through?" we've been through? I draw in a breath. Here we go. Kid, you are seriously overestimating your importance here. You're nothing but a blip. Less than a blip. A bleh. I've seen and done things and had things done to me that you can't even begin to fathom in that safe little brain of yours. We're not talking about days of pain and misery and death. We're not talking weeks or months or even years. We're talking lifetimes, kid, with an S. Multiple. So what? Fine. If you don't care, then hit me. I hit her, square across the face, not quite as hard as I can. She drops to her knees and immediately starts gasping in pain and surprise. After a few seconds, she looks up at me, her lips mashed into her teeth, bleeding, tears streaming from her eyes. You hit me! You told me to! It hurt! I bet it did! She gets to her feet. We stare at each other for a long moment. Why? Listen, Diana. I told you. You are nothing but a promise. Promises I keep. That's it. I can go through whatever motions you want if it makes you feel better, but I am never going to care about you, or that fucking bird, or anybody except myself. There is no why, okay? There's only what is, and what is that I cannot care about you. Then hurt me. I break her finger. I don't want to. It's not going to help anything, and it won't make her be any more useful for us getting out of here, which I have to admit has to be pretty useful. But she has to understand this lesson. Once she's done crying and I use some of my shirt to bandage up her finger, we settle in and get some sleep. There isn't a whole lot of room, and it's pretty loud and hot here at the epicenter, but I'm so ass-tired from recent events that it doesn't matter. I fall into blackness. When I drowsily come to for a few minutes, I see she has put her bandaged hand on my arm. Fuck me. Subchapter 2. When I'm asleep, I have this strange dream I haven't had since I was a kid. But back then, I used to have it all the time, like once a month or so. It used to haunt me when I'd wake up and make my day a little more awful than it usually was, which, if my father had any say, it was pretty awful. In the dream, there's this huge fire at one of the big apartment blocks that used to exist outside of Warsaw for the miners and industrial workers. Just huge pre-war cracker boxes we called famaloks, full of poor, desperate men and women killing themselves in the factories. And I am one of the firefighters. In my dream, even back then, I'm grown up, and I've got the whole rubber suit and the respiratory mask like lungs outside your body, big red axe. And we pull up on the fire engine. I feel like a superhero. Or maybe back then it was more like the two bad brothers who wanted to steal the mood, Jacek and Plasek, or the degenerate artist Bungo. Whatever, heroes were hard to come by in those days. That's why the fireman meant something to me. A real-life hero. I jump off the truck, and there's this young Nawamatka there, and she's bawling her eyes out. Save my baby! Somebody save my baby! And here I am, big, brave fireman. I know exactly what to do. I run into the burning building. I can feel the fire on me, air hot in my lungs, but I don't care. I'm rushing past all the burning furniture and the carpeting. I can see a picture of a pretty woman burning to a black nightmare hag on the wall. I run up some stairs. They're burning like mad behind me and collapse. I don't know fear. I don't know anything except one foot in front of the other towards my goal. On the 5th floor, I hear it, the strangling, throaty cry of a newborn baby. I start kicking down doors, but each one is more full of flame and smoke than the last, until finally I get to the last door, and with a heavy kick of my fireman's boots, I knock down the door, and there it is, standing in its crib, hands on the top bars, tears streaming down its chubby little face. I rush over to it, dropping my axe and scooping the little guy up into my arms, my big, safe fireman's arms. Mamci be malinsto, I say, bidzi dobrze. He quiets down for a moment, and I make my way across the room. The hallway is starting to catch now, and I can see at the other end of the hall where there will be no getting down that way. I go to the window, look out. I can see the lights of the city all around, and the sight makes me feel light and alive. I look down, and I can see the woman below wringing her hands, weeping, but now with something that looks like hope. I point to the baby in my arms and see her smile a little. Below, my fellow firefighters are working to get a life net under me. It's a long drop, 5 stories, especially with my bundle, but I know these men, and I trust them with my life. After a few minutes, I feel the fire on my back really beginning to burn me, and I have a feeling that I'm out of time. One of the men motions for me to jump. I do so just as there is a terrific explosion behind me. Someone's water heater, no doubt. Those things are terribly unsafe. Fortunately, at this point, I'm already in the air and heading downward. I do my best to put myself between the baby and the landing, and before I even have time to be afraid, there is a jarring stop, and I'm covered by men who have lurched forward but slowed my fall. We are safe. The baby and I are safe. In a few seconds, I stand up. One of the officers reaches out to take the baby, but I am all right. I can hold him. I walk slowly, like through molasses, up to the woman who is now sobbing with relief and joy that I have saved her little boy, her beautiful baby boy, who she was so sure she had lost. I approach her and gently place the little fellow in my arms. He seems to have fallen asleep, the little beggar. She looks up to me, eyes wide and full of tears, but before she says anything, I reach out, grab the baby's head, and twist savagely. The tiny bones barely have any resistance, and I twist again and yank the head away from the body. I drop it on the ground, never taking my eyes from her, and I stomp the head into the gravel with my great big fireman's boot. 3. Okay, I gotta stop. I got a kitten crawling up. sorry, this little guy. I've been stuck on the couch with a broken ankle for the past few weeks, and this little girl has been here with me the whole time, constantly crawling all over me. But don't worry, I'm not gonna twist her head off. I'll get back to it in just a second. Excuse me. Okay, sorry for the interruption. Back to it. Subchapter 3. I wake up with a surprised gulp of air and a raging heart-on. I turn my head to Diana, but she's gone. I look over and see her leaning on the railing, looking out into the blackness. I try to regulate my breathing and escape from the final seconds of my dream. I don't want to bother her just yet. I figure she just needs a little time to herself after our lesson, so I quietly sit up and try to work out our next move. I can't see a whole lot from this vantage point, except that it looks a lot like the place where we just left. Just wall and walkway and doors that probably lead to, well, I don't really know, but I guess we'll find out. I take stock. Everything hurts, like I've been thrown up against a wall at 35 miles per hour. But other than some bruises and a bottom tooth that wiggles alarmingly, I'm in pretty good shape. I'm not dead anyway, thanks to the ever-surprising Diana, and that makes, 3 times now that I owe her everything? Pretty impressive, and actually it's bordering on annoying. I stand up and pull off my backpack. I drop it to the ground with a small thunk, and she reacts a little. Oh well, time to face it again. I walk over to the railing and look out. Nothing to see but the darkness, the cables, and far below, the somehow obscene movement of metal below us. Hey, I say, did you sleep? Yeah, she says. You? I'm all right. Had a nightmare. Lucky you weren't there. I might have smacked you again in my sleep. I heard you groaning. I guess it's bad. Want to talk about it? Nope. And neither do you. I can promise you that, I think to myself. I wanted to ask you, where did you get your clothes and the knife? Found it behind a door, just before you found the mad monk behind one of yours. I think about this for a moment, then decide I don't want to think about it. Turns out it doesn't matter what I want. She says, that's kind of convenient, don't you think? Did you find my stuff, my purse and clothes? Not your purse. I think you left that behind. I found your clothes. Well, your shirt and your little skirt. Probably best you keep what you have on. That skirt barely covers you. Not my underwear? She looks at me slantwise. No, not that I saw. I lie easily. She cups her small breasts outside of her shirt. I see their bandaged finger, and suddenly it's just too fucking hot out here. She says, I wasn't wearing a bra. I don't usually need one. I clear my throat, clear my head. Right, I didn't see one either, I say. Uh-huh. She lets her arms drop to her sides and is silent for a moment, staring off into the distance. Anything in your backpack that might help us get out of here? A magical walkie-talkie to get help, or some kind of portal gun? Nah, nothing like that. I wasn't prepared for all this mess. I thought it was going to be a standard smash and rescue. Some rescue. Hey, fuck you, I laugh. You're still alive, aren't you? Yeah, I guess I am. Subchapter 4. We pick a direction and start walking along the walkway. As we pass doors, I peek in, trying not to cause too much of a fuss. Most of the doors lead to empty workrooms, furnaces, or closets. No more miraculous coincidences, good or bad, although we find a box of kids' cereal in one of the rooms called Koa Bites, made by a company called Fellings Mills. It's not much, but it's not bad. Very sweet and probably better with milk, but after nothing but roasted mystery meat for days, it's kind of a banquet. As we walk, Diana tries to do the crossword puzzle on the back. A four-letter word for night flyers, she says. Bats, I say. She doesn't have anything to write with, so doesn't make much headway on the puzzle, but we talk about the clues. Owner of the Columbus, Ohio Hammerheads, 8 letters. There are no hammerheads in Columbus, or anywhere, not that I know of anyway. Jennings? Could be, for all I know. I'm going to say it's Jennings. Suit yourself. She seems to be in a much better mood. I don't know why, nothing's changed. Maybe she's figured out her place in the scheme of things and she's okay with it. I know I felt a lot better when I did all those lifetimes ago. Or maybe she's in denial. The Jennings thing suggests to me that she is in denial, but I don't want to talk about it with her, so I don't. I start thinking about this company, Lemniscate. What is the deal? Why did they find it so important to get me out of the picture? Again, who the fuck am I? And I swear I've never heard of Chaos actively messing with other dimensions. Usually their shitty organizational skills don't let them do much more than survive, let alone set all this shit up, hiring big players like Rasputin to come and get me. I know I said I'd heard about these prison setups, but as far as I know, they were only ever used internally, like when somebody goes planes diving and decides to walk or whatever off with chaos resources. Some of the stuff they just ooze out of their bodies is worth a fortune to those who know how to use it. For example, to build weapons that make nuclear fission look like a microwaving a hot dog. But they keep it really well protected and have these prisons to keep anybody they don't like locked away forever. Or at least they try to. There's always a way out, as we can now attest, although we're not home yet. Hey, AH, check this out, Diana says, and starts walking faster. She passes a couple of doors, which I check out of habit. Nothing useful inside, so I follow her lead. Oh, this is interesting. Inside, instead of the circular portal-type doors we've been seeing, this new one looks for all the world like a set of elevator doors. And you know where elevators go? Going down, she says, and smile. Yeah, maybe. There's nothing up at the bottom of the desert, so down might do the trick if we're going to get out of here. Let's see where this takes us, I say. Next to the doors is a big unlabeled button. Doesn't need a label, though, does it? We all know what it means. I press it. And, of course, all hell breaks loose. When am I going to learn? Subchapter 5. As soon as I touch the buttons, all the cables up and down the walkway start shuddering like crazy. A big bunch of something is on its way, and I don't think we're going to like it. AH, Diana says. She looks up at me like I know what the fuck's going on. The button, after I've pressed it, starts to pulsate a deep red, like almost purple. I guess that means something's happening, but I don't know what that something is, so we're just going to have to wait for it. The walkway is starting to shake now, rhythmically, like there's something big coming. I go to the railing and look out. Oh, that's because something big is coming, and fast. It's like a kind of giant pink homunculus, probably twice as big in mass and size of a human, with long gorilla arms and little bow legs and a head comprised of dozens of wiggling tentacles. I remember something that Keith said about these things working for Chaos. The thing is hand-walking under the cable, which is shaking horribly. Hundreds of other workers are all converging on this spot, all on their little zip tools, all moving really fast. What the fuck is going to happen when they get here? I'm not taking that chance. I run over to the spot where the cable is attached to the railing with some kind of slide and knot system that I don't really care one way or another about. The cable is corroded, and with each massive shake, it lets go of a whisper-thin brown ghost of rust. That tentacle gorilla is getting closer, so I run over and grab the main event, angle myself as best I can, and give it a chop. Something gives immediately, and there's a loud whip whipping sound as the cable pieces start to unravel. Jesus, I don't want to be on the wrong end of this thing when it snaps. I chop again. More wires flash away into the darkness. On my fourth chop, I notice something is falling from above. Big chunks of something that are randomly dropping all around. One of them hits a cable and splits in half with a huge explosion of dirt, grass, and rock. Oh, shit, I think. Is that the fucking ground coming down on us? I don't even have the words to formulate it to myself, let alone say it here, but somehow pieces of the desert we just left are detaching themselves and falling all around us. Holy shit! AH, Diana yells. She's standing at the elevator doors, anxiously slapping the button again and again. It doesn't seem to be doing anything, but there's nothing really else to do at the moment. The fucking floor is falling! It is. And something else. I'm starting to hear this loud crunching noise like 1,000 cars being crushed in 1,000 car crushers. Not 1,000,000 cars in one car crusher, but the sound of each one being individually destroyed in its own way. The whole place is shaking now, and Kong is just about 30 seconds from climbing up onto the walkway with us. Not clang, gonna clang, happen. Clang. There's an explosion of movement as the cable starts ripping itself apart, and with a final twang, the cord breaks, and one very confused tentacle-faced monster goes sailing away. I look up. This has done almost nothing to fix our problem, which is now that big bits of machinery are starting to shoot across our field of vision. The sound of crunching metal is getting louder, and I'm starting to get a sinking feeling that this whole place is starting to collapse in on itself, and we are at the center of everything. I suddenly realize something else. All these workers and monsters heading towards us, they're not coming to attack us. They're trying to escape. Hundreds of these things, all headed for the only means of escape that I can see, which is right the fuck behind me. Diana, I yell. I go back to her. There's no point in trying to stop the wave of creatures heading towards us. Oh boy. Subchapter 6. I can see it now. The whole goddamn thing rushing towards us like we're at the center of a singularity and everything in the way is going to get crunched. That must be how they get rid of these things once the prisoner dies or whatever. They just crunch it back into a little tiny ball of particles and start over again. Fucking chaos, I swear. If there's a noisy and painful way to do it, they'll find something even noisier and even more fucking painful. So here comes the workers ahead of all the crumbling junk, boiling around us like ants, moving inward with the crushing, heaving environment. There's no fighting this, no hanging on and hoping for the best. This is pressing, nightmarish Armageddon, a tsunami of metal and flesh and blood, all coming at me and Diana. Ding! A little bell goes, and behind me I sense a door sliding open. I don't even think, I just back into whatever's there. Diana grabs my arm and pulls me along as the first of the panicked, froth-mouthed, doomed humans scramble over the railing. I'm in the elevator. It's an elevator. Well, that's good anyway. An elevator I could deal with. There are buttons alongside the open door. Outside, the tide of horror inches closer. The creatures that have made it to the walkway are all climbing and fighting with each other, which is good because nobody seems able to make any headway. What floor? Diana screams. One of the workers pulls away from the rest and runs at the door. I kick out with the heel of my boot and connect with her stomach. Her mouth bends into an O of surprise as she's launched backwards into another small group that was about to try the same thing. What do you mean? What floor? Any floor. She slams her hand on the bottommost button, and for a wonder, the doors start to slide shut. Almost too late. One of the workers grabs my arm. I stab him in the face and kick him away. The doors are almost closed, hopefully sealing us away from the carnage that's happening outside. A hand reaches through at the last second and flails around. Just in the last few inches of open door, I see one of the tentacle-faced gorillas has breached the gantry and is randomly throwing workers into the air. Most of them are immediately caught up in the gears and pop like water balloons if water balloons were filled with blood and entrails. I chop at the arm, trying to get the thing out of the way so I can close the fucking door. I can't get a good angle on it. The wall of entropy is now almost upon us. Then the gorilla grabs the interloper by the waist, and with a scream, the worker is pulled up into the tentacled face. The very last thing is the gorilla's face maw ripping the poor guy apart. And then the door is closed. The lights dim for a second, and we start to move. And then, I swear to Alan, the motherfucking girl from fucking Ipanema starts playing. You couldn't make this shit up. Subchapter 7. We stand there for a moment, both just thinking with adrenaline and terror, breathing hard. I feel the bottom of my stomach drop out a little as we descend. I look over at Diana, who has stepped over to the wall and put her head up against her arm. Hey, kid, I say. She waves me off with her other arm, slapping at the air. I brace myself for another confrontation or cry fest or whatever she's about to unload on me. She giggles quietly, then suddenly turns to me, looks me in the eye. She sings, "Tall and tan, dark and lovely." She starts to swing a little to the music coming from the tinny speakers above us. "The girl from Ipanema goes walking," and now she does a little turn, graceful and solemn. Her voice is actually really pretty, and I can feel the tension start to peel off me like corn husk, leaving only little tendrils of peaceful silk. I don't know where this simile is coming from, but it feels right. "And when she passes, each one she passes goes..." She lolls out her tongue, quirks her head to the side, and pulls up one arm holding an invisible rope. I laugh, and she holds out her hand with a smile. I look at it. I see the bandage from where I broke her finger. There is no malice or accusation in its presentation. I take her hand, and we dance a little samba as she continues to sing with the elevator music. "But I watch her so sadly. How can I tell her I love you? Yes, I would give my heart gladly. But each day when she walks out to sea, she looks straight ahead, not at me." And for a brief moment, I'm not a monster. For that moment, I'm just a man dancing with a pretty girl. Alright, I mean, we're in an elevator, so it's still fucking weird, but it feels normal. And that's one thing I can't ever give back, that one moment of feeling normal. I'll never forget her for that. I'll never forgive her for that. When she passes, I smile, but she doesn't see. Subchapter 8. After a little bit, the song ends and the spell is broken. I take a moment to let my head clear and get back to my usual calm but wary mode, and then I start to take a look to see if there's anything I need to know about this elevator we're currently traveling what seems like a long way in. There are buttons next to the door, 13 of them in 4 rows of 3, and one labeled with a star at the bottom. The others have some kind of symbols on them, but I don't recognize them. I guess star is gonna have to do. Whatever else happens on this fucking roller coaster experience, we want to get to the end of it, so it seems like the bottom floor is our best bet. Above the door are lights indicating which floor we are on. Currently, the little light is saying that we're just under the top floor, whatever that is, and we're moving downward. Can't really get a gauge on the speed we're moving, but I feel like it's pretty fast. "Where do you think we're going?" Diana asks. She's hunkered down in the corner, crossing her arms over her knees. She is such a little thing, isn't she? "I don't know. Down, I guess. Down to what? I guess we'll have to wait and see." Seems like we do a lot of that, waiting and seeing. "Comes with territory," I say. I pull off my backpack and put it on the floor. According to the little display above the door, we're going to be here for a while. I sit down in the corner opposite her. She sits there for a moment, eyes doing the 1,000-yard stare that I know I've got to pull her out of. "Here," I say. I reach for my backpack and open it with the little zipper. Her blue underpants peek out at me, and I feel a twinge of something that might be guilt, if I knew what that felt like. I push them to the side and pull out a little toy. It's one of those ones they used to make, kind of a little plastic thing on a pedestal that looks like a donkey and is held together by taut strings. The toy part of it is that if you hold the pedestal in your hand and press it down, a little mechanism loosens the string inside and the little donkey falls over, like really pathetically. Just legs go numb, falls sideways, head all askew. It's kind of a morbid toy, really, and I'm not sure how it's meant to be fun, but whatever. On the base of the pedestal, somebody scratched AO:OA and a symbol. I turn it over in my hands a few times and then toss it over to Diana. She catches it easily and looks at it dubiously. After a second or two, she figures it out and makes the poor little donkey flail around like it's got the worst case of grand mal seizure ever. "Be careful with that," I say. "It's not a toy. I mean, it is a toy, but be careful." "It's not much of a toy," she says. She drops the little guy a couple more times. "What is it, a choking hazard?" "Kiss your thumb, then run it along the symbols inscribed, right to left. Then whisper the name of somebody you don't like into the toy's ear, or like in the general area. Like a family member, or a famous dickhead, someone you think is a jerk, say." She does this. I can't hear what she's whispered, but that's okay. She smiles and holds the toy out to me. "Now what, A.H.?" "Now make the donkey fall down." She does so. The donkey collapses in its quiet, undignified way. Nothing happens. "Who did you say?" I asked. She laughs. "Kanye West. I think he's a douche." Nice, I say. All right, so wherever Kanye West is right now, whatever he's doing, he just lost all motor function and collapsed. Her eyes go wide. What? I swear to God, it doesn't last long, and it'll seem just like a little hiccup, but yeah, if he's walking around, you just put him to the floor. She frowns, squeezes again. The animal falls. Again, boom. Now somebody's probably getting nervous he's having a stroke or something. The frown turns into a sideways grin. She squeezes again. Okay, but it starts to wear off after a while. That one was probably not as bad. Weaken the knees if he's not already on a gurney or something. Beyonce clutching at her pearls or whatever. Kim Kardashian. What? It's Never mind. She marvels at the thing for a moment, then says, How do I know you're telling the truth? You don't. This is one of Crowley's toys, though, so I'm pretty sure it works. He was a real asshole like that. Loved making people fall down or yell shit or fart at his command. Kind of childish, really. But then, most real magic users are kind of weird. She smiles. I could try it on you. You could, but you wouldn't know if I was faking it to make a point or something. Myself? I don't think it works that way. I wouldn't try it anyway. When you cross wires in the magical world, you can get some pretty scary sparks if you're not careful. Okay. I look up at the light above the door. Either this conversation took a lot longer than I thought it would, or we skipped a few floors because suddenly we were near our stop. Hang on to that, I say. She tucks it into whatever place she puts stuff. It looks like we're getting to where we're going to. Are you ready? Yeah, she slides upward against the wall to her feet. She looks small and scared again. Hey, I say, it's going to be all right, I promise. Sure. Take these, I say. I pull a medium-length hunting knife and some spiked knuckle dusters out of my sack. One of the spikes snags in her underwear and almost lets the cat out of the bag, so to speak. I look to see if she notices, but her eyes are big on the knife. She takes the weapon solemnly. Thanks, A.H. Just be ready to use them, okay? Yeah. With an anticlimactic ding, the elevator suddenly stops and I feel my stomach go back into place. Doesn't feel particularly good there. The doors slide open. Subchapter 9. The doors slide open, revealing a long hallway lit by buzzing, stuttering halogen lights. There's an eerie green cast to everything, and the walls, which are made up of heavily painted cinder blocks, are speckled with black mold. The floor is a sick industrial tiling. It looks like the underground floor of a not very well-funded municipal hospital. All the way at the end, probably about 1,000 feet away, I can see the tiny square of an opposite wall containing a single door. I look to Diana, who stands at my side, silently taking this in. What do you think? I say. I think it looks like my old high school, she says. Like when I would stay late for yearbook or whatever, and it was dark and nobody was there, and all you could hear was the sound of those stupid lights. It reminds me of something too, but I don't want to say what that is just yet. I take out the main event and hold it at the ready. Shall we? I say, and without waiting for an answer, I start walking down the hall. My boots, heavy as they are, make very little sound as I go, making sure that I'm covering all the possible angles for anything untoward that might jump out at us. For a wonder, nothing does, and we traverse the long hallway without any real problem. It's getting to be kind of a drag, all this tension. I mean, we just dealt with, well, let me see, getting to the hatchway, opening it, almost bought it there. The lady with the screaming, finding clothes, fucking Rasputin again. Jesus, what are we going to do with that guy still floating around or whatever? Almost dying, getting on the cable, almost dying even more getting off the cable, and then the complete implosion of an entire prison complex into a singularity or something. So, I guess we're here, and whatever's here is going to be beyond that door at the end of the hall. Do you want to rush through or peek in? I asked. I know what I want to do, but I feel like at this point maybe I should let her have a little bit of input into what happens next. She says, and I can sense that she's scared. I'm scared too, only because it seems like when things really get quiet and calm is when the big terrible shit starts happening. It's almost, you might say, like someone is making this up as it goes along. But it doesn't matter. What does matter is there's a door between us and something, and we're going to have to get through it if we're going to get home. Jesus, home. I wonder how Pissface is doing. If he's still tied to that chair, it's been days, weeks. I don't even know in this place or how time works. For all I know, back in Earth Inceptive, it's the year 4000 or the year 4000 BCE. This dimensional stuff messes with your head. I have to assume that there is a time and a space pocket that we can return to in our reality so all this shit can come together. Otherwise, me and Diana are just going to be wandering around the plains like a couple of castaways from the universe's weirdest shipwreck. Not to mention I'm hungry. That's going to be a problem too if I don't do something about it. I mean, I'm not going to eat Diana because of my promise, but now I feel kind of dumb for throwing that bird away. Well, maybe. Let's kick it down, Diana says. Yeah? Let's kick it down and take out all the motherfuckers. She's kind of getting into it. She has the knife I gave her earlier in her right hand, and she's wearing the spiked knuckles on her left. Kill 'em all. Okay, let's do that then. Yeah. 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 And I start into a slow jog that turns into a run. Diana at my side, my warrior princess, ready to kick ass. I shove my boot out and kick open the double doors. So, chapter 10. Ah, you've arrived. Sit down. He's a small brown man with a black beard, glasses, and an extraordinary well-fitting and expensive suit. He's standing in a medium-sized, elegantly modeled business meeting space with a long table, glass and metal walls, and a projector screen against the back wall. We're standing there, Diana and me, ready to take down whatever chaos agents that this next part of the narrative wants to throw at us. I've got the main event in my hand, and I'm already ready to start chopping at something. Diana's got her knife out, ready to cut out a few livers. If you're hungry, there's Danish pastry. We've blown through the double doors at the end of the hallway, and now we're standing in the middle of a bustling office space right out of fucking Wall Street. My mind is having a difficult time taking this all in. Diana, you with me? I say, kind of under my breath. Yeah, A.H., what's going on? She seems just as confused as I am. All right, well, that's good enough to be going on with. I untense, get myself out of ready mode, and I can feel all the adrenaline sweeping away in a disconcerting cloud that's condensing down to my feet. I taste that bile taste in the back of my throat. Something's not right here. We have coffee as well, but if you want anything special like a latte, we'll have to send Brenda down to get it from the place downstairs. Okay, I say, what the fuck is going on? The man seems to notice me for the first time. I guess he's done the shtick with the coffee in Danish a bunch of times before. So, we're going to all sit down and watch a presentation. I was just making sure you didn't want refreshments before we started. Now, I should be losing my shit right about now. I should be chopping off people's heads left and right, but for some reason, I managed to get a hold of myself enough to say, yeah, you got any of those vanilla-flavored creamers? That would be great. The man smiles with his eyes. I think we've got that. Hazelnut, too, if you want it. Hazelnut? Well, now you're speaking my language. Let's have a look, shall we? I look over at Diana. She shrugs and plays along. We're both these dirty, dusty, blood-flecked customers standing in the middle of a 21st century Earth business office being offered coffee and pastry by a little man in an expensive suit. Makes perfect sense. I put TME in her scabbard and we both walk around and grab some food and drink. I'm still kind of in a haze because why wouldn't I be? And Diana just seems to be following my lead. There any stirrers? He smiles and points to a little cup filled with paper-covered sticks. Ooh, individual! I rip the top off of the stir and show it to Diana, who smirks. Fancy, she says, and she's just opening and pouring little creamers into her cup. I kind of wish I'd have thought of that. I grab a Danish, one of the ones with sliced almonds on top, and wrap it in a napkin. I bring up the coffee to my mouth, feel the steam invade my upper lip and nostrils, and sniff the moist, aromatic air. Then I blow a tiny little storm onto the brown, oily surface of the coffee and take a sip. Ah, it tastes like shit. It's the most beautiful taste in the world. I look over at the guy. How you feel about the Hammerheads' chances this year? He nods politely, says, I don't really follow sports. Yeah, I say, take another sip. It's a fool's errand these days. The whole league's paid too much for no action. Diane shoves me out of the way, carrying 3 Danishes, and sits down at the table. I take a seat next to her, set out my pastry and my drink in front of me. We look up at our smiling host, who continues to smile as he says, I am Dr. Pansuk Solgrave, and I've been asked to give you a brief presentation on Lemniscate Industries LLC and what we're doing to make a more orderly tomorrow. I can hear the capital letters. I'm not liking this. Wait, Diana says, looking over at me. I thought you said this was chaos. I shrug. Got me, kid. Solgrave clears his throat. All will be made clear to you once you've seen the presentation. Lights. The lights go out. The presentation starts. And oh man, is it a doozy. And that's it. That's chapter 8. So the whole thing is 10 chapters of 10 subchapters each. I tried to keep that pretty standard throughout because it's part of the... Well, it's part of the... There's a sort of 1-0-10 thing going on throughout it. It's kind of, just a little added thing that I put in there. But I don't know. I hope you enjoyed listening to that as much as I enjoyed reading it. I'm always liking to get into this character's head, even though it can be a little unpleasant at times. But thank you for your time, and I'll see you in the funny papers.